I haven't had a lot of positions within Merit. I joined Merit some 28 years ago when we had 15 member companies as a vice president, and that was in 1986. And I moved into the president role in 1988, and I haven't been able to get a promotion since then. So it's been a wonderful run. The industry, of course, looks hugely different, and the association in 1986 was a fledgling organization. I remember our big asset was a $20,000 line of credit with the banks, and it was very much a startup operation. And we've had just phenomenal success in terms of the programs and the services that we've been operating. Our benefit plan has, at that time, had less than 1,000 people in the program. Today we'll be at over 65,000 people in the program. And we've just added programs and services every year that Merit has operated. And those programs and services have been incredibly well received in the construction industry. And not only have we had phenomenal success in Alberta, we have some 1,400 contractors that are part of the organization in Alberta, but we've been able to take the Merit concept all across the country. So, the group in British Columbia, the ICBA, were in existence before Merit was operating, but there was not a Merit in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, Ontario, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, or Nova Scotia. So we've played an instrumental role in helping get the Merit message out and Merit programs and services being offered in all of those provinces. So it's been particularly proud to see that. The other dynamic that's been particularly significant, it was in the formalization of the Merit Canada. And in 2008, the 8 provincial Merit associations formed a national association, and we've been having a significant role in terms of shaping some of the federal public policy issues of the day. And so not only have we been able to have a significant influence over the provincial scene here in Alberta, but Merit companies all across the country have seen positive changes in the federal arena. One of the real significant ones dealing with the labor code actually came into place in 1988, and that was the introduction of the secret ballot vote on union certifications. Up to that point in time, it could simply be done on a card check basis. So that was a pretty big issue to ensure that workers actually had a secret ballot vote as to whether they wished to form a union or not form a union, get in a union, get out of a union. So that was a very, very significant change. We've also had significant changes in the area of the Manpower Development Act, or apprenticeship legislation. In particular, Merit was very encouraging and supportive of government moving to directions to allow more apprentices to work in our industry. So in the early days, in the 1980s, it wasn't unusual to have a requirement where you had perhaps one journeyman. You had 3 or 4 journeymen and 1 apprentice working under them. That was what the regulations allowed for. That would be an absolute disaster in our current manpower environment if that were the kind of ratios, or those were the kinds of ratios that we were governed by. So some of the changes that were brought in by our apprenticeship board, which allows now for in most trades where we can have 2 apprentices working under a journeyman, have really allowed for the expansion of the trades and more younger people getting in the industry. And in a time of shortages is something that is very, very vital for us and something that we're relying upon. Other big changes were in 2008, the introducing of legislation that made it much more difficult for unions to engage in the salting practices, so that union organizing now is much more based upon what the workers want rather than gerrymandering or different dynamics of trying to encourage only union supporters who are working for certain companies. So it's very much giving the control of the work site to the workers. And so those are some significant changes. There was also changes that made it unlawful for certain kinds of practices related to how the operation of market enhancement recovery funds, so how projects could be subsidized by unions in terms of when they're competing against non-union contractors. Those are some pretty important changes. From a public policy perspective, we've had a really good partnership with our provincial government, in particular on the apprenticeship files, and encouraging and ensuring that we have enough seats for young apprentices when they're going to school with the NAITs and the SAITs and the other post-secondary institutions. So very much a heavy part of our involvement over the years has been working in a collaborative way with government to ensure that our apprenticeship system is working to ensure that we have great careers for young people wishing to pursue construction industry careers. Plans are to do a little bit of traveling. As I said to the board, when it was my time to step down, it was a matter of wanting to live life a little bit less intensely. And so it's to be able to do a little bit of work in the industry, but on a schedule or a timetable that's more conducive to a better balance. So looking forward to that, looking forward initially to doing some traveling and spending a little bit more time with family.